Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Market Watch. It's the beginning of October, which means we got to take a look at some higher time frames as we just had a bunch of those monthly candles close. So let's dig into it, and we're going to take a look first at the New Zealand and the Canadian dollar. So taking a look now at the New Zealand and the Canadian dollar on the weekly time frame, we can see that we've almost been forming this quadruple top and at the top of all-time highs ever since back from 2009. We're seeing a lot of really good resistance, and in the last couple of weeks we've closed with a few different high test candles here. So I have an upward sloping trend line that we'll take a look here at the smaller time frames right now. And we can see that we've been holding really good support here on this upward sloping trend line and kind of hanging out with our 50 EMA. But I think that this is going to lose some steam here as we're showing really good resistance at some historical levels. So I think that once we can break this upward sloping trend line, I think that just like we were looking at traditionally in the past here, that we will continue to fall back down. And I'm thinking kind of into the area of 0.92, 0.9250. So we'll really play it by what we see in the market with acceleration after we possibly break this area, but this is just something that I'm waiting for. Right now I don't have any positions open or not. I really want to see a break and retest of the upward sloping trend line before I commit to getting into long term with the New Zealand and the Canadian dollar. Moving along now to the dollar yen, I'm taking a look now at that monthly chart, and we can see that right now we're at this area of some really good deceleration and some good resistance. We kind of had a little bit of a tweezer bottom kind of happening in the last couple of months, but as September closed, we closed a little bit in bearish territory, but we're still holding on to this really long-term trend line ever since 2002. So I think long-term, if we can see some strength in this short-term phase line break on this daily chart here, if we can break this downward sloping trend line, we can see that we've had some really good support here in the area of that 100 handle, that we've had this triple bottom. If we can break this downward sloping trend line and test it as support, I think we'll have a nice clear run up into the area of 105, and then from there, who knows. But right now, taking a look, if we can break this area, test it again as support, I'll definitely look at taking a position long on the dollar and going short on the yen, as we see quite a bit of weakness with the yen across a bunch of the different pairs. So moving on to the pound yen now, we're taking a look again at that monthly chart, and we can see that the area that we're sitting at here around that 130 mark, that we're kind of at this traditional low. We were at the same type of point in time back in around 1995, and we are here again today. We did also, in the previous months, we did have those tweezer bottoms. We did close a little bit bearish in September, but we are kind of holding really true on the daily chart here. Let's take a look now at that. So we're now forming this triple bottom. Right now the market is super choppy. It's really choppy sideways, so I'm going to look for a nice break and retest. I want to start to see that new trend form on that hourly chart, and I think that we have a nice clear shot, just like we did previously in early September, that we trended to our downward sloping trend line in that 50 EMA area. I have been talking a while that I have been expecting the pound to bounce back after Brexit, and we are seeming to find some really good support in around this 128.50 area. So we've had this nice triple bottom. I just want to see this formation break out, look for retest, look to start to make some higher highs and higher lows on those smaller time frames before committing to getting into a position like this. Moving on to a similar setup, I'm going to take a look at the pound and the Swiss franc. We're looking at the weekly chart, and we can see that we are at that historical level just like we had in 2011. And on the smaller time frames, again, we're making those double bottoms at this area of the 1.25 handle. From here, we can see that on the smaller time frames that we definitely have some good support. So if we can start to break out of these formations, just like we talked about on the pound yen, I think that we have a really good shot of catching some really good, a nice 1 to 3, 1 to 4 risk to reward. But I really want to see the trend change on the smaller time frames before I'm looking at committing to this position. So for now, on a lot of these pound pairs, I'm just looking and being super patient and waiting for that trend change on at least the 1 hour time frame. Taking a look now at US oil, we're taking a look at the monthly time frame. I think that we got some really good things coming into the work for US oil, both in fundamentals and also now taking a look at the technicals on the chart. So we're looking at the monthly time frame, and we can see that last month we closed in a really good bullish position. We are kind of now breaking out of this downward sloping trend line that we've been in play for quite some time now. And if we can find some good support at this area, I think that we could have a good run up into that 55, possibly up to $60 a barrel area. So right now, after the news about OPEC last week, we had a lot of acceleration coming out of that. I'm just waiting for a pullback now to this long-term trend line, and from here, looking at getting into a position for the long term. So I just want to see that pullback before I look to committing to getting into US oil for this week and possibly holding it until the end of the month. That's going to wrap it up for this week's Market Watch. Definitely be safe in the markets, as there's quite a bit of indecision and you have to be willing to change your views on a daily basis. It's going to be really interesting. We got about one more month before the elections on November 8th. Not really expecting a whole lot of movement in the markets until then, especially around the US dollar. Taking a look at the DXY, it's just been going sideways for quite some time. Not really seeing a whole lot of movement with the US and the Canadian dollar, as well as the euro dollar. It's just been in consolidation, and I think it's going to continue to be that way until the elections are over. So there's definitely some possibilities between trading within some of the ranges within that consolidation. But for those taking a look at getting to some good risk to reward trades, I got a few of them planned out here. But just make sure that you wait for the confluence. Wait for those breaks and those retests. So stay safe in the markets this week, guys. Make sure that you are covering yourself and using your stop losses. And we will follow up with you guys this week on GoTV.